Okay, good afternoon. Today is
Hi.
Monday, May 20th, 2024. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Tony Batterford. My real name is Toshi Batterford, but I go by Tony. I'm also a drummer, so I go by the nickname of Sticks. So that's a little curveball nickname that I have. But yeah, that's my name.
Yeah. So, what is your earliest musical memory?
I've been blessed, Eric, with music groups from the time I started in band back in the sixth grade. That was back in Air, Massachusetts. My father was in the military. We were stationed in Fort Devens, Mass, and I went to school there. And in sixth grade, I was introduced to beginners band. I actually wanted to play the trumpet, or I was thinking even the flute because it was so easy to carry, and I was diligent about practicing, so it'd be something easy for me to carry. But right when they got to me for a beginner's band to say, "What do you want to play?" and there was tons of trumpet players before me, and by the time the conductor got into to my name, he said, "Okay, no more trumpets." And so I said, "Okay, drums." And so and I was pretty good at drums anyway. I think I have pretty good rhythm. So I stuck to that, and I've been in drums ever since. To try to shorten the story here, from sixth grade band, we traveled as a beginners band, if you can believe that, Eric. We're that good. Of course, we had nothing to compare with, but all I know is we were traveling to Cape Cod and went to another school in Leominster, and we were a beginners band, but I guess we had exchanges where they wanted to hear us to kind of give those schools a chance to say, "Hey, this is the level you can possibly be at." And again, not to brag, but it's that I was blessed to be in a level of band performers to that extent.
Mhm.
And then from there, I went to Korea. My father was stationed there for 2 years. By that time, I was in my freshman and sophomore years in high school there. Uh, and again, that band was very good, and the instructor was he was excellent, and you couldn't help but to listen to him and learn. And he emphasized on for me to learn other instruments besides just banging away on a snare drum. So I picked up timpani. I almost touched on xylophone, but I focused on timpani, learned the scales, and learned to use my coordination with the pedals and all that kind of stuff. And so I picked it up there. And even in Korea, we were taking tours to Japan and vice versa. So we were doing exchanges that way and learned other performers and their level. So that was really, again, a blessing for me. And then from there, I came back to the States and went to Louisiana. And once again, that's where I started learning marching band. Of course, U.S. You got your high school marching band and football and all that jazz on Friday night. But that's where I really picked up the marching skills, and of course, I played timpani and the concert bands and those kind of things. And I got in the jazz band as well, and I learned to play my drum sets and things like that. That's where my nickname started to come in, of Sticks. And then, so I've been very blessed, Eric, from the school grade of beginners all the way through high school, and I had 2 year music scholarship in college, but I refused that and came to Texas. So I went to engineering school here, but that's my musical background, if you will. And
Mhm.
then one more thing I can add is that I had my own band for 13 years, and my best friend, he was an excellent sax player, and he was a Marine, ex-Marine, retired Marine. And he said, "Hey, Tony, let's start a band." So we started a band, and then we put an ad in the paper. So I'm kind of dating myself here a little bit, Eric. But yep, I got this guy that responded, and this gentleman, his name is Tom. I forgot his last name, but he was an excellent piano player. But we didn't know that, so he came to audition, and then he was an old frail guy, and we kind of were worried about him. But once he got on that piano, Eric, he went to town, and we were just our jaws just dropped, and that's the kind of performer he was. And turns out he played with Johnny Carson's band. He played in New Orleans. He played with all Doc Severinsen. He played with all these professionals in his past. And I'm like, holy cow. And then so he knew that we were starting a brand new band. And he goes, "Hey Tony, do we need singers? We need sopranos. We need we need other And I said, "Yeah, that'd be great, but we're not playing for money. We just want to have fun and go to the retirement homes and wiggle and play some music, some big band stuff, jazz, some soft rock from Fleetwood Mac or Chicago, something like that. And man, we had so much talent. It was unbelievable.
Mhm.
And next thing you know, SMU wanted us to play, and this and this and that. So we had a lot of fun, and we never played for money, but we, of course, they eventually started paying us because we were pretty good. And so that's how I got into, and the band lasted for 13 years,
Mhm.
because I think we had the right type of focus on that band.
Mhm.
And we traveled throughout the state of Texas and Oklahoma.
Why did it end?
Well, my best friend moved to Hawaii. So he moved, and he had the truck. He had the half-ton truck, or was it a one-ton truck? Anyway, one of those heavy big trucks, and
Right, right,
and
right.
the trailer and all that to put all the equipment in. And because every time we got money, we didn't give it to the players, although we did give to sometimes the singers. But we took the money to upgrade our. We got a trailer for the instruments and upgraded some equipment, repair some things, this and that. Sound system was a big key.
Yeah,
So there you go. That's what we did,
yeah. And
and
do you
and
have
got into
any,
Dondoko Taiko eventually.
yeah. Did you have
Yeah.
any interesting stories you want to share about the band? And what is the name of the band?
Universal Rhythm. Yeah, that was interesting too, because we're like, well, we play big band, well, we play soft rock, we play jazz, we play blues, we can even play hard rock, from Scorpion to all these kind of songs. And we're like, what are we going to call ourselves? Oh, how about Universal Rhythm? Because we can play universally, all kinds of different rhythms. And we had gentlemen that were professional bongo, and I forgot the other instruments. They were fantastic players. And so we even had percussion solos that lasted 25, 30 minutes. And
Hmm.
people were just freaking out on it. We were that pretty good. And yeah, I was really blessed to be surrounded by professionals at the end, to from beginners band, being surrounded by a lot of people that are dedicated to playing the music.
Hmm.
So I
Cool.
was very blessed.
Wonderful. So when did you become first become aware of taiko?
Well, Taiko in Fort Worth, Texas, of the Botanic Garden, Japanese garden there. I first went to a festival. Well, I didn't even know they were performers actually performing there. Went to the garden. I'm stabbing myself here a little bit. About 10 plus years ago. And then that's when I first heard the Dondoko Taiko group, and I heard the banging, and I'm like, whoa, hey, that's pretty cool. That's Japanese stuff. Let me go over there and check it out.
Mhm.
And so I checked it out, and I was impressed. And I said, I could do that. But also, it's a Japanese festival, and I'm, Okinawan Japanese, so I think that would kind of fit right in there culturally. And since I'm a percussionist, I can probably support the group that way. And but for the longest time, as life moves on, and then eventually a friend of mine, she was going to join the Dondoko Taiko group, and I said, I guess I better join. This is about the time I should join. Then if she's gonna do it, she goes, "You better do it, Tony." Like, okay, I'll join too. All right. So then we joined, and so there was three of us, brand new players. She was not a musician. Myself and another lady, Ashley, she was a musician, and then joined in August of last year. So not even a year. But yeah, we joined, and then of all things, my friend that introduced me to Dondoko Taiko for the practice, she quit. So I've been trying to get her back ever since. But yeah, so that's when I joined, and I really think that my not just my skill set, but my cultural heritage, all that comes into play when I joined this group, and I've been very dedicated about it. The other sessions that we do on the side from I just did one in Dallas between just a couple of us. Did a performance in elementary school in Dallas, and to see all those little kids look at you with eyes wide open, absorbing all that culture with our hoppy coats and our our gear and everything else with our four toes on our shoes. They all looked at us, and really for them to feel, not just hear, but feel that drum and the culture of Japan's taiko coming through and sharing that history as well.
Mhm.
That I think that's why I really love this group, to share that my culture of Japan and the taiko with America.
Mhm. What does being Japanese mean to you? I mean, you obviously went to the Japanese festival, and so
Yes.
you certainly have connections, prior to doing taiko. But yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question, Eric. Of course, I moved to the States when I was 10 years old. I did not speak a lick of English, and so I learned the hard way here. I was set back in school, not only in Okinawa, Japan, one time there, because I could barely speak English then, and then I was set back 1 year here in the U.S. because I could speak it, but I could not comprehend what I was reading. So and looking back, it was probably the right thing to do because again, back then there was no program as English as a second language, ESL program, none of that. There was none of that. So you just get it or you don't get it. And to see all my I think it was second grade at that time, second or third grade, going up to the next grade, Eric, and I'm still stuck with these young whippersnappers coming up to the the grade, and I was like, okay, that's enough of this. I need to master English, and so I really took it to heart and not even wanted to have an accent, to be honest. I just wanted to master English. I became an American citizen anyway. Hey, I'm going to learn it and master English, and support since I'm a U.S. citizen in America. But going back to your question of being Japanese, what does it mean to me? I think I have the benefit of both worlds now. Since I grew up in Japan, I know the culture there. I love Japanese food, like a lot of people do, but I know the culture as well to an extent. And of course, my mother was purely Japanese. My father was from Biloxi, Mississippi, from the military. So going traveling around the world, I also gained cultural experiences from other nations, right? From Korea. I almost went to Germany, but we didn't do that. But the bottom line is, I think that's a benefit that I wish everybody could experience, not just being stuck in one area or even one state,
Mhm.
to be able to travel to different countries. I think will really broaden your horizon and make you a better person, in my opinion.
Mhm. Yeah. What about being Okinawan? Because obviously that's a difficult.
It is. A lot of people don't realize Okinawa is a different part of Japan. It's not.
And
It's kind. And I tell people, tell Americans, if you will, it's like, well, Okinawa is kind of like Hawaii is to U.S. It's still a different culture in Hawaii, not just the climate and all that. Just forget about that, but just the slow pace of Hawaii, things of that nature, and of course the diet's different there too. Where Okinawa is kind of the same of that nature, where it's a little slower. So of course, it's a subtropic island, beautiful island. I always recommend anybody to take a vacation there. Beaches are beautiful there, and so it's not really the mainland Japan, Eric. And so the food, in my opinion, I'm being a little biased here, but Okinawan food is way better than Japanese soba and all that good stuff, and even the sushi is way better in Okinawa. I guarantee you. Maybe that's an arguable statement, but I tasted both sides, and so I can kind of tell you that Okinawan food is delicious, very good.
Mhm. Yeah. So, can you talk a little bit about the beginning of being trained to be a taiko player?
Being trained, yeah, it was actually it was intimidating, Eric, because I said, well, I drum, I can do this, I can play trap sets, I can, and so, but when I saw their performance initially, I went, there's a lot of choreography there. And I was like, well, I can get that eventually. But the way Dondoko Taiko in Fort Worth practices, we have music scores, but our instructor really says, no, don't rely on that because you're not going to have that kind of music in front of you when we perform.
Hmm.
And I was like, you're going to have to memorize that stuff. I was like, okay. And, I'm been spoiled with music scores and right in front of you to perform at concerts and all that kind of stuff. Nope. You're going to have to just play from memory, and then not only that, you got to remember your choreographies through memory. So that body muscle memory skills have to come into play, which was totally new to me.
Hmm.
So that was the challenge, and then eventually I picked it up. I watched a lot of YouTubes on those performances of the group in the past. That helped a lot. And of course, we learned a brand new tune that was a more of an advanced song. So we did have score sheets for that. But after that, our instructors like, okay, let's put it away and let's do it by memory. And there you go. That was a challenge,
Yeah.
but it's a
So
lot of fun.
yeah. So what is a like a beginner's class session like? Like how?
Very basic. Yeah, it's very basic. And kudos to our instructor Casey. She knew how to teach us and learn the basic, arm movements and where to hit the taiko drum, because obviously it's not a flat drum, although some of the drums are, but most of them are, old taikos and whatnot. They're all slanted at a 45 or even horizontal. So yeah, you have to learn those skill sets, and it was very eye opener to me. Even though I said, man, I played drums for all my life, and to be able to play something like Dondoko or Taiko drums is definitely unique. Seeing these professional Taiko drummers in Japan, and they're just sweating and really giving it all their efforts. It's like a martial art demonstration. I'm like, oh, I see. That's how you got to do it. Like, okay, well, that's going to take a lot of workout, and I know I did it right when after I'm done with just even one performance, and I'm like, okay, I got to get some water,
Mhm.
and that's when I felt like, man, this is really not only just good exercise and whatnot, but I think it's a really good way to show the culture and experience of the taiko heritage of Japan with the crowd, you know.
Mhm.
So I'm really proud of that.
Right. So you said the beginners class you had was 3 people, right?
Yes, yes, we
Right.
had three.
So did you learn the same instruments first? Did you split duties, or like how did that work?
Well, for me, I wanted to, again, some people could move around a little bit, but I focused on one drum, the Chudaikos, and
Mhm.
then and just focused on that because I knew that I'm gonna have to learn the choreography and all that too. So I wanted to master that. So I said, okay, rather than just kind of putting my effort into all kinds of different drums and whatnot, let me focus on that, master that. Now I can move on to something else if I need to. But for the most part, all the players are staying with their particular drum, so I don't have to really move around, nor do I really want to.
Mhm.
I feel like my skill sets kind of fall in line with Chidaiko drums, and the shime drum, shime.
Mhm.
I like to call it shumai sometimes, but yeah, as a little joke. But yeah, the shime drums, that which fits right in with my marching days of having those hard heads on a drum, and I can bang away on that thing. So that's. But the beginners band, I think, the way she taught us, it really encouraged us to continue. But it was intimidating once you start adding or watching the other players, because there was advanced, intermediate, and beginners, and we were the last to practice. So when we come into practice and we see the intermediate players doing all their thing with all these other scores of music, we're like, oh wow, we got to learn that, that kind of thing. And so those, but even with that kind of intimidation that we're just adding and piling on ourselves, once we started to see that, we would take it step by step, and we started to learn it that way.
Mhm.
Um, so that, I think she does an excellent job with that, and we did it the right way. So anytime there's a new beginner that wants to join us, we want to be patient, and we want to support those folks that are brand new, because obviously it's important, those people that want to commit to doing something like that.
Right. So was it one teacher, or did the rest of the group also teach beginners, or how did that work?
For the beginners, Casey was the master teacher for that. But once you start learning other things, David and Aaron also supports, who's been with the Dondoko Taiko group for eons. So they are, again, great people. They know their stuff. They know their music. So they support us, especially if Casey can't make it for whatever reason. So
Sure.
we would do that. But I think the way they divided our group up to advanced, intermediate, and beginners. Right now, we don't have any beginners, which will start in next month in June.
Mhm.
For anybody that wants to join, and keep those people protected and separate from the intermediate and advanced level, so that way they don't have to worry about all that fancy stuff and all that fancy choreography, and just stick to the basics. And we have a practice song. We actually call it the practice song that we perform to let the crowd know, hey, this is the first song you're gonna learn. And when they hear it for the first time, they go, oh, I think I can do that, and that's the purpose of it. But yet but it has a good feel and good sound and good pace to it, so it can actually get a little bit more fancier toward the end.
Mhm. Great.
So Yeah, I think we're doing it the right way.
Yeah. So other than not using scores, how is the pedagogy similar to or different than all the other music teachers you've had?
Uh, that's a good question. Well, everybody else was very, standard, formal. Read the scores, repeat look at the music, make sure everybody's in tune. Listening to each other. That's the similarity part, as far as especially listening to each other, which is critical. But what really separates the taiko group from regular music bands and whatnot is, again, you only get what you put into it, and so that's so true with this group. But again, you have to really rely on muscle memory. You got to do practice over and over and over. And once you learn to play the music, okay, now maybe you may want to start focusing on the choreography more. And that's how we develop our beginners into more intermediate. But even the intermediate players, I'm still classified as an intermediate player. We still have to focus on the our movements and our body and everything else, and our legs, and the power. Right? There were times where we realized, like, we didn't have enough energy in that performance, and so we took that to heart when our some of our friends and relatives that saw the performance, they're more open, right? They'll tell you, man, that was pretty good, but the energy level wasn't really there. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And so we would take that to heart, and practice, and let's make sure we have more energy in our performances. Not just playing the music together, but all that comes into play when we're playing taiko.
Great. Yeah. So can you tell me something about your first performance as a taiko player?
Oh man, okay. Great question too. So again, since we're beginners, then us three were protected in the middle of the group, and then we had our intermediate and advanced players in the front. We're in the middle of the group, and then we had our intermediate and advanced people in the back of us. So we're surrounded as a beginners, and then we were just doing just rhythms, basic rhythms for the songs that we didn't know. There were times where we actually squatted down so nobody could see us, and let the crowd see the rest of the group of the intermediate and advanced players. But so we knew that, and again, Casey was the art of that, and she knew what we could do. And I'm thankful that she saw the talent in me to start doing different things, and actually even added a song for this recent spring festival that we did in Fort Worth, where we did an advanced song, and I played the shime, and me and another advanced player, we did multiple drum solo together, and that's pretty cool. So that's the recognition that our teacher sees in us. But for our beginners, we were not freaking out that, oh my gosh, we don't know how to play this song, or there's no time to learn this. She protected us to make sure that, hey, the beginner stuff that we needed to play, we played it, and the rest of it, we just kept the beat. That was it.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So yeah, so is there like an official graduation ceremony to move from beginner to intermediate, or how does that work?
Oh, okay. No, we just come to the different times of practice, really, because from X time to X time is advanced, X time is intermediate, and the last part is the beginners. Uh, and that's about it. When after you finish your beginners class of session, which lasts a few months, then she wants to make sure that the festival that we do in Fort Worth is like our graduation. To answer your question, Eric, because we do it in the spring, and which we just did, and then we're going to have another one in the fall, and those are our two graduation performance shows, really. And then we do a whole bunch of little ones in between, like I just mentioned with the elementary school, or going down to Waco and perform there for not SMU, Baylor. That kind of stuff is what we did. But the spring festival and the fall festival is definitely our graduation, because the time that we performed, we were brand new, and we joined in August. We performed in November, so we're pretty new, and so we only did the basic things. Come after that, Casey said, "Hey, Tony, you guys are now intermediate. You don't have to worry about beginners, and then let's focus on learning more hard, more technical stuff, and
Hmm.
the rest of the music." And she would introduce those musics one by one to us, but she also expected us to do homework, practice at home.
Hmm.
You don't have to have the drum. I have a practice pad, but
Yeah.
um, just listening to the YouTube music or review the score sheet, and even just do it with your hands, and just act like you're hitting the drums and all that choreography stuff. You can do that at home anytime, and so that's what she expected. And so when you come to class, you can be a little bit on it,
Hmm.
and work on the stuff that you're just not strong at.
Hmm. So how much practicing goes on between rehearsals?
Uh, well, we only practice once a week on Sunday.
Hmm.
And again, she expects us to practice during the week. Just again, it doesn't have to be long, 5, 10 minutes, and just maybe every day, 5, 10 minutes, or every other day or so. Just depends on if you're how comfortable you are. For me personally, I wasn't worried so much about hitting the drums and all that kind of stuff. I was just worried about making sure my muscle memory would kick in. And to do that, I constantly watched the YouTube performance of their previous songs. They didn't change it, so I was like, oh, might as well just watch the YouTube performances, and that's how I, constantly. And even when I'm going to practice, which is about a good 50-minute drive, I listen to all those songs on YouTube over and over as I go to practice, and so it won't be, it'll be a lot more warm in my mind going in,
Hmm.
and it helped.
Hmm. Great. Yeah. So how is being an intermediate player different than being in the beginners class?
Oh, much different, yeah, because you are expected to learn all the songs in an intermediate level.
Hmm.
And then you start to know and work on mastering that choreography, the body motions and whatnot. Your arm movements, your leg, everything else, your twists. Uh, uh, so in the beginning, you learn how to bow, and you hold your stick up, and doing all your politeness and whatnot. That's all part of the art of taiko, and intermediate class, yeah, you have to start learning all the songs. If you don't know one, you need to learn it. And the group expects that, not just the teacher, but the group expects that, because we're all going to perform it. And if you don't know it, you kind of look a little bit weak out there, right? And I, for one, again, representing as a Japanese American citizen, uh, and I want it to be the best I can be, to represent my culture, myself, and have a lot of pride in that. That's that, but that's me. I can't control anybody else. I'm just trying to make sure I do the best I can.
Right. So when you don't know a song that they had learned before you became an intermediate player, do you learn from videos? Do you learn from, like, how do you learn that song if you don't
Yeah,
know?
yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, I learned it from the videos. Yes, I did. And again, that's the blessing of today's technology, right? You can just watch a YouTube and okay, I got it now, or zoom in on that particular person that you say, hey, she's pretty good. I want to follow her, mimic her skill sets. And there was a lady named Corey way back for that Dondoko Taiko group until she moved to Germany, I think. But she was also taught in Japan how to play taiko. And when I saw her perform on the YouTube, I'm like, who is she? And I watched her footing, her leg motions, and everything else. Like, man, I really like her style. And so let me copy that. Again, don't spin your wheels. Just there you go. It's right there. Just learn from her. So that's how I started learning these songs that I didn't know. And then when I came to class, I was already ahead of the ball game when Casey would go over that particular part of the songs and whatnot. Number one, I already heard it many, many times. And number two, the muscle memory will start to eventually kick in. And that's how
Mhm.
I mastered it.
Great. So I know taiko groups are very different in the US. And did you there a lot of time devoted to discussing the history of taiko, the different schools? Yeah. So was that a part of rehearsal? Did you pick that
Uh,
up somewhere else? No.
no, not really. No, it wasn't. In fact, I learned more about that when we went to these schools and whatnot. And David, our senior player, would share some of that knowledge,
Hmm.
not just from our costume and whatnot, but the drums and some of the Japanese words and some of the words that we actually say during our performances. And
Hmm.
he would kind of, not kind of, he would educate the crowd on that. Depending on the crowd again, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Some things, keep it simple for elementary level to, for the festivals, we would joke around and share at the adult level.
Hmm.
And we even had Japanese sign. And that was my job, is to hold these Japanese words. So when the crowd would say it, they'll know how to say it. I would hold the signs up. I think that helps a lot too. So we
Yeah,
try to get the crowd involved in these songs and performances, which I think that's the right thing to do.
right. And do you know how the group picks the pieces that it plays?
That's more of a question for Casey and
Okay.
David. I think more of in line with Casey, since she is a music instructor. Where David and Aaron, not, no, I think Aaron has musical training as well, but David, he doesn't have any musical training. So Casey, I think, is the one that brings all the scores to us and try it out and see if it works or not. Like I said earlier, we played a song called Shumpu. I like to call it shampoo and need some conditioner. That's my little joke. But that's my one of my favorite songs that I would like to play, because it's more of an advanced song. It's fast paced, has a lot of solos in it, and you can add lib on it if you need to, and make it even more fancy. So uh, that's the kind of stuff that she brought to us lately. So now we have a song in our repertoire that's pretty advanced, and that also freshens it up with not just playing the same old stuff all the time in our performances.
Hmm. And how many pieces are currently like in rotation for your concert
Oh,
this?
geez. And I might miss one or two, but we got
That's
about
fine. Yeah,
8 songs in our repertoire. Yeah,
yeah.
now that we can play, and one of the stuff that I really like is when we have the flute. It's the wooden flute that Casey plays, and we have Ashley, the other new person that joined with me at the same time last year. She's musically talented, and she can play the flute as well. So. That's really nice, and I think now we're trying to introduce flute to other performers of ours. I'm not much into that, but the chapas, these little cymbals. There's a really unique way to play these things, and it's not just banging away like a little toy monkey, wound up. Uh, it's a really interesting instrument, and I want to master that as well. Especially after I've seen these professional Japanese taiko drummers and playing even those little cymbals, the way they do it. I'm like, wow, that's pretty interesting. That's pretty unique. I want to be able to do that. And again, I want to do it because if we do need to have that particular piece as a key in a song, okay, at least I know how to do it to support the group,
Hmm.
rather than just making noise with it.
Right, right, right.
So,
Yeah.
mm.
Do you have a favorite taiko group beyond Dondoko?
Not really. I listen to a whole bunch of them throughout on YouTube and whatnot, but not anything favorite. But I watch a lot of the Japanese one, and again, they're good. They're really
Yep.
good. But yeah, so it has kind of gives us a bar, right, to say, okay, if we can at least get kind of close to that, that'd be awesome.
Mhm.
And we always have a goal of talking. We talk about it quite a bit, to go to Japan and perform with those kind of groups. I know they did it like 5 years ago, but I think
Mhm.
we're overdue for another one.
Great. Yeah. So, you are currently an intermediate player. How do you become an advanced player?
Well, I think it's just time, really. I mean, technically, I can play. I can go to my advanced practices if I need to, because all the songs that we play are uh, included with the advanced group. So it's not that the songs are segregated by the level of talent that you are or skill set. We play it all, but the advance is basically saying, hey, you got the skill set to say you can not only you know how to play the music by muscle memory, uh, but you play it right. You play it very articulately correct, and uh, the power and all that comes with it, and not just waving your arms, but knowing where exactly those arms should be, things like that. And and to be able to pick up a new music pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So uh, even though officially I'm still intermediate, because I've been with the group less than a year, I'm playing all the stuff all the way through advance pretty quickly.
Hmm.
So that's how it's, yeah. So it's not really segregated that in
Okay.
that way of talent. Yeah.
Great. So, can you share your one or two favorite moments that happened in the group?
Oh, wow. There's quite a bit. But you know what? I can just share this with you. I even told the group on Sunday yesterday when we practiced, I said, man, I wish everybody could have been at that Dallas elementary school, because, again, I have a thing for little kids, and, I, uh, and to see all those little kindergartners in the front and this cafeteria slash auditorium, if you will, in a school, and seeing the kindergartners, first grade, second grade, third grade, and that was one group, and then another group came in from fourth, fifth, and sixth. Uh, to play twice, basically, and to see them just wide eyes wide open and just absorbing everything, and they're smiling, they're waving at you, and all this kind of stuff. And man, that was one of my favorite moments. I love that. And if we can just encourage one or two kids to absorb this culturally, we want, and one for our culture and for the people to get more diversified and not just, hey, this is Texas, you listen to country music, which is nothing wrong with that, but to be able to be absorbed in something so foreign that they never heard before or seen, and boom, it hits them, and they loved it. And so I think that's a win really for everybody to see kids, especially at that level, getting, absorbing that kind of cultural experience. And so
Mhm.
that's one of the main thing I really like about being part of this group, to
Wonderful.
share that.
Yeah, wonderful.
And there are other things too, but mainly is to allow the kids. We always introduce the kids to come up to this where we are, and we actually have practice drums that they can bang away on, and so we encourage them to bang away, and the parents are so proud, right? They're taking pictures and videos, and some of it makes our Facebook page or whatever, but. That's the other thing that I really like. Again, it still involves kids, and I love that. I think that's very important.
Hmm. Great. Yeah. So how do you think your life has changed since playing taiko?
Mm. I feel like I'm more balanced, if you will, for the lack of a better word. I feel like my culture and skill sets are being able to be shared, and to me that's important. Everybody can go through their mundane life, and to a selfish standpoint, do their own thing. But for me to drive almost an hour every weekend, to and fro, and to go to this, I feel like it's really important and it's worth it because of that, because of those experiences that I'm gaining for the people, and for them to experience that. I recognize that that's really important, especially today. In my opinion, with a lot of things going on in the world, a lot of segregation and things like that. I think it's even more important to share education, cultural experiences. I think that's critical in today's world.
Mhm.
And what can I do? Well, I can do it here. That's about it. So I think even just a little bit of sharing of that kind of skill set and cultural experience and education, I think goes a long way.
Okay.
So that's why I do it.
Great. Wonderful.
Mhm.
So, is there something I haven't asked that you want to talk about?
Well, not really. I really appreciate the questions and sharing this with you. I think this is a really important work that needs to be shared. I think the Asian American culture has been always on the back end, if you will, not so much in the limelight. Nor do I think, in culturally, Asian Americans really want to be in the limelight anyway. But from a cultural experience standpoint, whether it's a Chinese New Year and they do the celebration in the towns. I think that's fantastic to, again, different countries, Korea to Japan, Vietnam, so forth. To share that in a melting pot like America is a benefit for us. And I think we need to share that. And so your work, I think, is very beneficial. So I'm very thankful that you're doing that.
Yeah, thank you. So, let me just one maybe one final question.
Sure.
To just to think about your location in Dallas Fort Worth. What are your views of Asian communities in Dallas Fort Worth? Is it very
Cool.
active? It's like
I think it is. Yeah, I feel like it could always be better. I've been to some Japanese chambers, and I mean Japanese, Asian, chamber meetings and whatnot, for my business and so forth. Trying to do some networking. One of the biggest challenge I feel like well, let me put it to you this way. Because of my background and experience, and not being afraid to talk to the city mayor or whatever, that executive of Toyota, it doesn't matter to me, where we can try to get some grants so we can sponsor ourselves representing North Texas, not just Fort Worth, but North Texas in Japan or anywhere else for that matter. But right now, our goal is to go back to Japan, and we're got our eyes set for next year. But again, that's not cheap, right? And so we want to try to get some grants, and whether perhaps you might know some things there that you can share. But for me to network and try to identify where can we get some funding to help us expand our culture and spread it, not just for here, number one, and then also do that exchange with Japan. I think will be a really important thing to do.
Great. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.